What happens when two of Hollywood's most beloved personalities sit down for what should be a lighthearted interview, but instead find themselves in the most uncomfortable exchange ever caught on camera? The tension, the accusations, the moment everything went completely off the rails. This is the story of how Maya Rudolph ended up being escorted off Kelly Clarkson's set. And trust me, you won't believe how it all started. But before we get into it, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling me whose side you're on after hearing this whole story. The Kelly Clarkson show was taping its usual afternoon session, and the energy in the studio was electric. Maya Rudolph walked out to thunderous applause, that signature smile on her face as she waved to the audience. Kelly stood up from behind her desk, arms open wide for a hug. And for those first few seconds, everything seemed perfectly normal. They embraced, the audience cheered, and Maya settled into the guest chair, adjusting her blazer as Kelly returned to her seat. "Maya Rudolph, everybody," Kelly said, her voice warm and enthusiastic. "I have been so excited for this. We have so much to talk about." "I'm excited too," Maya replied, crossing her legs and leaning back slightly. "It's been a minute since we've done this." "It really has," Kelly agreed. "And you've been everywhere lately. I mean, the movies, the shows, the voice work. You're unstoppable right now." Maya nodded, that familiar, playful glint in her eye. I just keep saying yes to things. Sometimes too many things, but that's a whole other conversation." Kelly laughed, and the audience laughed with her. "Well, speaking of saying yes to things, I want to dive right into something because I know everyone watching is dying to hear about it. Your latest project, the one that everyone's been talking about." And this is where you could feel the first shift in the room. Maya's expression changed just slightly. Her smile stayed in place, but something in her eyes became more guarded. "Which project are you referring to?" Kelly seemed to sense the hesitation, but pushed forward anyway. "The comedy special, the one where you talk about your experiences in the industry. People have been quoting it nonstop on social media." Maya uncrossed her legs and leaned forward, her elbows resting on her knees. "Right, that one. I watched it," Kelly continued. "And there's this part where you talk about working with difficult people, and you mentioned some experiences that sounded, well, pretty intense. I was wondering if you could elaborate on that, because I think a lot of people, especially women in entertainment, really connected with what you were saying." The audience was quiet now, sensing that this wasn't going to be the usual fluffy interview. Maya took a breath, choosing her words carefully. "Kelly, I appreciate you bringing that up, but I'm a little confused about why that's the first thing you want to talk about. I've done a lot of work recently, a lot of joyful work." Kelly's smile wavered for just a second. "Of course, and we'll get to all of that. I just thought since it's been such a hot topic, it would be good to address it head on. Give you a chance to share your truth." "My truth," Maya repeated slowly. "My truth was in the special. I said what I needed to say there. But you kept things pretty vague," Kelly pressed. "You didn't name names. You didn't give specific examples, and I think people are curious." Maya sat back again, and this time her body language was unmistakable. Arms crossed, jaw slightly tight. "People are always curious, Kelly. That doesn't mean I owe them specifics. I told my story the way I wanted to tell it." Kelly nodded, but she didn't let it go. "I get that. I really do. But don't you think that when you put something out there like that, especially on such a public platform, there's a responsibility to, finish the conversation?" And there it was, the word that seemed to light a fuse. "Responsibility?" Maya's eyes narrowed just a fraction. "What exactly do you mean by that?" Kelly seemed to realize she might have stepped into something, but she doubled down. "I just mean that when you talk about toxic behavior and bad experiences without context, it can lead to speculation. People start guessing, rumors fly. Wouldn't it be better to just clear the air?" Maya uncrossed her arms and placed both hands on the armrests of her chair. "Kelly, let me ask you something. When you talk about your difficult moments, your struggles, your journey, do people demand that you name every person who ever made things hard for you? Do they require a full list with receipts?" "That's not what I'm asking for," Kelly said quickly. "I'm just trying to give you a platform to, speak freely." "I am speaking freely," Maya shot back, her voice still controlled but with an edge now. "What you're asking me to do is gossip, and I don't do that." The audience shifted uncomfortably. This was not the fun, lighthearted banter they'd come to expect from Kelly's show. Kelly tried to pivot, flashing that famous smile. "Okay, I hear you. Let's move on. Let's talk about something else." But Maya wasn't quite ready to move on. "Actually, before we do, I want to understand something. Did your producers tell you to ask me about this? Because I'm wondering why this is the angle we're taking. Kelly's face flushed slightly. My producers give me talking points for every guest, Maya. That's how talk shows work. But I make the final decisions about what we discuss. So, this was your decision, Maya said flatly. I thought it would be an interesting conversation, Kelly defended. I thought viewers would want to hear more. What viewers want, Maya said, leaning forward again, is drama. They want conflict. They want me to throw someone under the bus so they can pick sides and argue about it online. And I'm not doing that. Not here. Not anywhere. Kelly held up her hands in a placating gesture. I wasn't trying to create drama, Maya. I swear. I was genuinely curious because what you said in the special resonated with so many people, myself included. Then why does it feel like an interrogation? Maya asked, her voice quiet but firm. The silence that followed was deafening. Kelly opened her mouth, closed it, then tried again. It's not. I promise. Look, maybe I approached this wrong. Can we start over? Maya studied her for a long moment, and for a second it seemed like maybe they could reset, find their way back to friendlier ground. But then Kelly made her next move. I just think, Kelly continued, that if you're going to put yourself out there with these kinds of stories, you have to expect that people are going to ask follow-up questions. It's part of being in the public eye. And that was it. That was the moment everything truly fell apart. Maya stood up, not dramatically, not angrily, but with purpose. Kelly, I've been in the public eye for decades. I know how this works. What I don't appreciate is being told what I have to do or what I should expect. I came here thinking we were going to have a conversation between colleagues, maybe even friends. Instead, I'm being grilled about something I already addressed on my own terms. Kelly stood up too, her expression a mixture of surprise and concern. Maya, please sit down. We can talk about whatever you want. Can we, though? Maya asked, and the question hung in the air like smoke. Because it seems like you already had your agenda set before I even walked out here. The production team was frozen, cameras still rolling, capturing every second of this unraveling. Kelly's assistant had appeared at the edge of the stage, unsure whether to intervene. The audience watched in stunned silence as two women they admired seemed to reach an impasse that neither had anticipated. Kelly took a step toward Maya, her hands still raised in that peacekeeping gesture. Maya, I promise you there's no agenda here. I just wanted to have a real conversation. Isn't that what good interviews are supposed to be? Maya turned to face her fully, and her expression was harder now, less patient. Real conversations happen between equals, Kelly. What you're doing right now feels like you're trying to get me to give you something you can use, a headline, a moment, and I'm not interested in being that for you or your show. That's not fair, Kelly said. And for the first time, there was real emotion in her voice. Hurt, maybe, or frustration. I've always respected you. I've always supported your work. Why are you making me out to be some kind of villain here? I'm not making you anything, Maya replied, her tone steady. I'm responding to what you're doing right now, in this moment. And what you're doing is pushing me to reveal things I've already decided to keep private. That's not respect, Kelly. That's pressure. The audience was completely silent now, and you could feel the discomfort radiating through the studio. This wasn't entertainment anymore. This was real tension, real conflict, playing out in real time. Kelly's producer had moved closer to the stage, headset on, clearly debating whether to call a break. Kelly's jaw tightened. You know what, Maya? Maybe you're right. Maybe I did push too hard. But let me ask you this. When you go on a talk show, what do you expect? Small talk? Surface-level stuff? Because I've built this show on having deeper conversations, on going beyond the typical press junket nonsense. That's what people love about it. Deeper conversations are great, Maya countered. But there's a difference between depth and invasion. You're asking me to expose parts of my experience that I've specifically chosen not to expose. And when I say no, you're making it seem like I'm being difficult or hiding something. Are you? Kelly asked. And the question landed like a slap. Maya's eyes widened slightly. Excuse me? Are you hiding something? Kelly repeated. And now her voice had an edge too. Because from where I'm standing, it seems like you threw some pretty serious accusations out into the world through your special. And now you're upset that people want clarification. That's not unfair, Maya. That's just accountability. Accountability, Maya said, shaking her head slowly. You're really going to talk to me about accountability, Kelly? I held myself accountable when I told my story. I held the industry accountable when I talked about patterns of behavior that need to change. What you're asking for isn't accountability. It's gossip dressed up as journalism. Kelly's face flushed deeper now. I am a journalist. I do research. I prepare for my interviews. And yeah, sometimes that means asking questions that might be uncomfortable. But that's the job. Then do your job without making your guest feel ambushed, Maya shot back. Because that's what this is, Kelly. I didn't come here knowing you were going to spend the entire interview trying to get me to name names and spill secrets. If I had known, I wouldn't have come at all. Maybe that's the problem, Kelly said. And her voice was quieter now, but no less intense. Maybe we're all too comfortable. Maybe we've gotten so used to softball questions and safe conversations that the moment someone asks something real, something that matters, we call it an ambush. Maya laughed, but there was no humor in it. Something real? You think tabloid questions are real? You think trying to get me to create drama is meaningful conversation? Kelly, listen to yourself. I am listening to myself, Kelly said, her voice rising slightly. And I'm also listening to you dodge and deflect and act like asking you to elaborate on your own words is some kind of attack. You put it out there, Maya. You started this conversation. And I'll finish it how I want to, Maya said firmly. Not how you want. Not how your audience wants. How I want. That's my right. Kelly crossed her arms now, mirroring Maya's earlier posture. Of course it's your right. But don't come on a talk show and then get mad when the host wants to talk about the thing everyone else is already talking about. That's naive, and you're not naive. I'm not mad that you want to talk about it, Maya clarified, her voice measured again. I'm mad at how you're talking about it, the assumptions you're making. The way you're framing my choices as somehow problematic. I told my story with intention, Kelly. Every word was chosen carefully. If I didn't name names, it's because I didn't want to. If I didn't give specifics, it's because I didn't need to. My experience stands on its own. But does it? Kelly challenged. Because without context, without details, it just sounds like you're complaining without backing it up. And I know that's not what you want people to think. Maya took a step closer to Kelly now, and the energy in the room shifted again. Kelly Clarkson, you need to stop telling me what I want and what I don't want. You need to stop assuming you know better than I do about my own story, and you need to recognize that what you're doing right now is exactly the kind of behavior I was talking about in that special. Kelly's eyes widened. Wait, are you seriously comparing me to whoever you were talking about in your special? Are you saying I'm being toxic? I'm saying you're not listening, Maya said, her voice low but forceful. I'm saying you're prioritizing your show's content over my boundaries. I'm saying that when someone tells you no repeatedly and you keep pushing, that's a problem. Is it the same as what I experienced? Maybe not, but it's on the same spectrum. And the fact that you don't see that is concerning. Kelly's mouth opened, then closed. She looked genuinely shocked, maybe even hurt. I can't believe you're saying this. I thought we were cool. I thought you knew I was coming from a good place. Intentions don't erase impact, Maya said. You might think you're being a good journalist, but the impact is that I feel disrespected. You might think you're serving your audience, but the impact is that you're making me regret coming here. The producer was definitely moving toward the stage now, and Kelly noticed. She held up a hand to stop him, then turned back to Maya. Okay, you're right. Maybe I pushed too hard. Can we take a beat? Take a break, reset? Maya looked at her for a long moment, and you could see the calculation happening behind her eyes. Was it worth staying? Could they actually reset? Or was the damage already done? Kelly, I don't think a break is going to fix this. I think we have fundamentally different ideas about what this interview should be. So, what are you saying? Kelly asked, and her voice was smaller now, less certain. I'm saying that maybe this was a mistake, Maya said carefully. Maybe we should have had a pre-interview conversation. Maybe your team should have communicated with my team about the direction you wanted to take. But we didn't do those things, and now we're here, and I don't see a way forward that feels good for either of us. Kelly's face hardened again. So, you're just going to leave? Walk off my show because I asked you questions you didn't like. I'm leaving because I don't feel respected, Maya corrected. There's a difference. The audience is right there, Kelly said, gesturing toward the crowd. They came to see you. They're excited about you. Are you really going to disappoint them because you're upset with me? Maya turned to look at the audience, and for a moment, her expression softened. I'm sorry, she said to them directly. I really am. You all have been wonderful, and I hate that this turned into this. But I have to stand up for myself, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. Some people in the audience started to applaud, tentatively at first, then with more conviction. Not everyone joined in, but enough did that it was noticeable. Kelly saw it happen, and something in her face changed, frustration, maybe, or embarrassment. Wow, okay, so now I'm the bad guy. Kelly, this isn't about good guys and bad guys, Maya said, turning back to her. This is about a conversation that went wrong. We both played a part in that. Don't do that, Kelly said sharply. Don't try to both sides this when you're the one walking away. Maya's expression hardened again. I'm walking away because staying feels worse. If that makes me the bad guy in your eyes, I can live with that. Kelly took a breath, and when she spoke again, her voice was controlled but cold. Fine. If you want to leave, leave. But just know that this is going to look really bad for you. People are going to wonder why you couldn't handle a simple interview. Let them wonder, Maya said. The coldness in Kelly's voice seemed to galvanize something in Maya. She straightened her shoulders, and when she spoke, there was a finality to it. You know what, Kelly? I've been in this industry long enough to know that everything looks bad for somebody. Every choice, every stand you take, someone's going to criticize it. Someone's going to twist it. Someone's going to use it against you. And I've learned that the only way to survive is to do what feels right to you, regardless of how it looks. Kelly's laugh was bitter. That's easy to say when you're the one making the dramatic exit. Meanwhile, I'm the one who has to explain to my audience, to my producers, to everyone watching, why Maya Rudolph walked off my show. Do you know how that reflects on me? Do you know how it reflects on me to stay here and continue being pushed? Maya countered. We both have reputations to consider, Kelly. The difference is I'm willing to risk mine to protect my peace. Are you willing to risk yours to respect someone's boundaries? The audience was completely engaged now, heads turning between the two women like they were watching a tennis match. Some people had their phones out, clearly recording, which meant this was going to be everywhere within hours. Kelly noticed the phones too, and her expression flickered with something, worry, maybe, or calculation. Put the phones away, Kelly said to the audience, her voice sharp. This is not for social media. This is a private conversation. It's being filmed by 6 cameras, Maya pointed out. There's nothing private about it. And honestly, maybe that's good. Maybe people should see this. Maybe they should see what happens when someone says no and keeps being pushed anyway. Kelly's face went red. Are you really going to paint me as some kind of bully? Me? I've spent my entire career being kind, being open, being vulnerable with people. I've built this show on empathy and connection. And now you're going to make me look like the villain because I asked you to have a real conversation. I am having a real conversation, Maya said, her voice rising slightly for the first time. This is real, Kelly. This moment right here where I'm telling you that I don't like how you're treating me, that's as real as it gets. But you don't want real. You want comfortable. You want me to smile and laugh and give you sound bites that'll make great clips for social media. And when I don't do that, when I actually push back, suddenly I'm the difficult one. You are being difficult, Kelly said, and there was heat in her voice now, too. You're taking a simple interview question and turning it into this huge thing about boundaries and respect when all I did was ask you to elaborate on something you already said publicly. That's not crossing a line, Maya. That's literally just conversation. Then why do I feel so uncomfortable? Maya asked, and the question seemed to genuinely stump Kelly for a moment. Why does my body feel tense? Why do I feel like I'm being cornered? If this is just conversation, why does it feel like combat? Kelly opened her mouth, closed it, then tried again. Maybe because you're being defensive. Maybe because you came in here with walls up, expecting the worst. Or maybe, Maya said slowly, I've learned to recognize when someone isn't really hearing me. I've been in enough rooms, enough interviews, enough conversations to know when someone is listening to respond versus listening to understand. And right now, Kelly, you're not trying to understand me. You're trying to win. The word hung in the air between them. Win. Kelly's eyes narrowed. This isn't a competition, Maya. Then why does it feel like one? Maya asked, why are you arguing with me instead of just accepting what I'm saying? I told you I don't want to discuss certain things. I told you I feel uncomfortable. I told you I think we should end this. And every single time you've pushed back, argued, tried to change my mind. That's not a conversation between equals. That's someone trying to win an argument. Kelly was quiet for a moment, and you could see something working behind her eyes. When she spoke again, her voice was softer but still firm. You know what? You're right. I have been trying to change your mind because I think you're making a mistake. I think walking off this show, making this big statement, it's going to hurt you more than it hurts me. And as someone who actually cares about you, I was trying to help you see that. Maya's expression softened slightly, but her resolve didn't waver. Kelly, I appreciate that you think you're helping. But I don't need that kind of help. I need respect. I need someone to hear me when I say no. And if you can't give me that, then yeah, I need to leave. Kelly's producer had finally made it to the stage and was standing just behind Kelly now, clearly ready to intervene if needed. Kelly glanced back at him, then at Maya, then out at the audience. You could see her weighing her options, trying to figure out the best move. Finally, she turned back to Maya and said, I'm not going to beg you to stay. If you want to go, go. But I want you to know that I think you're overreacting, and I think you're going to regret this. Maya nodded slowly, and there was something sad in her expression now. Maybe I will regret it, but I'll regret staying more. I can promise you that. Fine, Kelly said, and she stepped back, creating physical space between them. Then I guess this is it. I guess it is, Maya agreed. She looked out at the audience one more time. Thank you all for being here. I'm sorry this didn't go the way any of us expected. But sometimes things don't go as planned, and you have to adjust. You have to listen to yourself. More applause came from sections of the audience, and this time it was louder, more supportive. Maya gave them a small wave, then turned to walk off the stage. Kelly stood there watching her go, her expression unreadable. The cameras kept rolling, capturing every second of Maya's exit. But then, just as Maya reached the edge of the stage, Kelly spoke again. You know what, Maya? I hope your boundaries keep you warm at night, because they're going to make you pretty lonely. Maya stopped slowly. She turned around, and the look on her face was something between disbelief and anger. What did you just say? Kelly seemed to realize she'd gone too far. But she didn't back down. I said what I said. You can't just shut people out every time they ask you something you don't like. That's not healthy. That's not sustainable. Kelly, you need to stop talking. Maya's voice was low and dangerous now. You need to stop making this about my mental health or my relationships or anything other than what it actually is, which is you not respecting a simple boundary. I'm just being honest, Kelly said, but there was a tremor in her voice now. Isn't that what you wanted? Real conversation? Well, here it is. I think you're so afraid of being vulnerable, so afraid of letting people in, that you call it boundaries when really it's just walls. Maya walked back toward the center of the stage, and the energy in the room became electric with tension. Kelly Clarkson, you don't know me well enough to make those kinds of assessments. We've done a handful of interviews over the years. We've chatted at events, but we're not friends. We're not close. And you don't get to psychoanalyze me on your show because I won't give you the content you want. I'm not psychoanalyzing you, Kelly protested. I'm just pointing out that maybe there's a reason you're so defensive, and maybe there's a reason you're so desperate for me to break. Maybe it's because you've built a brand on being the nice one, the relatable one, the one who everyone feels comfortable with, Maya shot back. And when someone doesn't feel comfortable with you, when someone pushes back, it threatens that whole image. So instead of accepting responsibility, you make it about them. You make it about me being too sensitive or too guarded or too whatever. Anything to avoid looking at your own behavior. Kelly's face had gone from red to pale. That's not fair. Neither is what you said to me, Maya said quietly. Neither is trying to hurt me because I'm leaving. That's vindictive, Kelly. That's beneath you. Or at least I thought it was. The silence that followed was suffocating. Kelly looked like she wanted to say something, wanted to defend herself, but no words came. The producer stepped forward and finally spoke. I think we need to cut to commercial right now. But Maya shook her head. No, let them keep rolling. Let everyone see this. Let everyone see exactly what happens when you stand up for yourself. Sometimes people respect it. Sometimes they attack you for it. But either way, you know where you stand. She looked at Kelly one last time. I'm sorry this is how it ended. I really am. But I'm not sorry for leaving. With that, Maya Rudolph walked off the stage for the second time. And this time she didn't stop. She didn't look back. The cameras followed her until she disappeared into the wings. And then they cut back to Kelly, still standing there, looking shaken and small in a way that no one had ever seen her look before. Kelly cleared her throat, visibly trying to compose herself. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll figure out what's next. But the audience knew. The crew knew. Everyone watching knew there was no coming back from this. The show had just imploded in real time, and nothing Kelly could say or do would change what had just happened. Security had appeared to escort Maya out, not because she was causing a disturbance, but because that's protocol when a guest leaves unexpectedly. The optics of it, Maya being led away by security, would only add fuel to the fire that was about to ignite online. Kelly sat back down at her desk, and for a moment, she just stared at the empty chair across from her. The chair Maya had been sitting in just minutes ago. Then she looked directly into the camera, and you could see her trying to find the right words, trying to salvage something from this disaster. But before she could speak, before she could attempt any kind of explanation or defense, the producer called, "Cut!" And the stage lights dimmed, leaving Kelly sitting alone in the semi-darkness, the weight of what had just happened settling over her like a heavy blanket. So, what do you think? Was Maya right to walk off? Or did Kelly have a point about the nature of talk show interviews? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, because trust me, this is just the kind of real, unfiltered content you're going to want to stay updated on. Who do you side with, Maya or Kelly? Let me know.